with our big three stories of the day. Probably could have put 12 up here, but we'll focus on these three this evening. Pennsylvania drivers getting a little bit of gas tax relief at the pump. It's not huge, but every little bit counts. We'll tell you just how much you can expect prices to drop in the new year because of that falling gas tax. Plus, holiday travel outlook. Obviously, a lot of people hitting the roads, taking to the skies over the next few days, heading to meet family for Christmas and New Year's. Get you set for what you need to expect on that front, too. Patience, certainly an important thing to pack, to say the least. And the local barbecue business has employees who are alleging they're not being paid. Ownership says otherwise, although they do acknowledge there have been some problems. We'll take you through both sides of the issue and explain what's going on. So let's jump into those stories, and we'll start with holiday travel, something you're likely either already doing or planning to do over the next couple of days. Millions of Americans, well, they'll do the same thing, trying to make it home for the holidays. According to AAA, this year could be perhaps the busiest year ever, particularly at the nation's airports, with an estimated 2.8 million passengers expected to fly every day through Christmas. The busiest days for air travel, today, tomorrow, and then New Year's Day, with most Americans, though, driving to their destinations. Gas, well, that's a big part of the cost, and gas actually is cheaper than it was a year ago. Not a ton, but it helps. Caleb Yager with more on what local travelers should expect. That's coming up tomorrow morning on Erie News Now Sunrise. Let's head over to Dickey's Barbecue in Erie, where some employees say they haven't been paid at all this month, and they say they've been fighting with management for months over paycheck issues. Meanwhile, ownership claims that the complaints are coming from just two disgruntled employees, and they say workers have been getting paid, although they acknowledge sometimes late, and the owners say it's been through their personal checking accounts, not through pay stubs in the business account. The owners claim most money that the franchise earns ends up going to corporate. We'll tell you more about that coming up on Erie News Now at 6. Our Tom Kowalski spending several days looking into this.